Well, welcome to the Wizards Lair today, a second one. This we're going to have this week. We're going to have one on Wednesday, focusing on NCAA basketball, Sweet 16, and the Elite Eight. But today we're going to talk baseball, Major League Baseball, which starts Wednesday evening. When I look out my window, it's about 37 degrees here in Connecticut, and it's raining and it's cold. So it doesn't feel like spring. But the only way it does in my head is that baseball is about to begin. And when way baseball begins, you know it's spring and the nice weather is coming. I hear you guys in Vegas that it's was like 100 degrees recently, right?
What's funny about that, Wiz, is oh yeah, and Wes, you're here too. What's funny about that,
Yeah.
guys, is that technically we had two 100-degree days in winter before it turned spring. I've been here 33 years, and I hear people say outlandish things about the weather, but I will never forget that we technically had 2 days of 100 degrees in winter.
Well, you have the summer now, and I have the winter, but right in between is spring, and that means Major League Baseball. So we're going to talk about the season. We're going to talk about angles, betting, uh, some prognostications on the season, all kinds of different things. And I brought you two on, Dana to my right, and Sniper West on the bottom, two handicappers that specialize in baseball. So I'm going to put you two on the spot, and I'm going to ask you some questions. I don't play baseball on a regular basis. I don't even watch much of it except for the playoffs and the World Series. As a kid, I really loved baseball, but for some reason I lost my interest over the years, but I do like to talk about it. And I remember when I lived in Vegas, I lived in Vegas twice, one in the 90s and one, 7 years ago for a few years. When I was in the 90s, I would talk to sportsbook managers and I would ask them about, baseball, betting on baseball, how they do. And they basically all said the same thing. It was like one of these lost leaders to get people into the door. It was a fill in between NFL, NCAA tournament basketball, and then, you had the NHL playoffs and the NBA playoffs, but everything led into the NFL season. And in the middle, smack in the middle, was this long Major League Baseball season. And they would say it was a lost leader to them because the sharp guys would beat them, but they had to have it. It was part of the menu. It's almost like going to Walmart and they want you into the store, so they offer you toilet paper for $6.99 for 20 rolls. They lose money, but they get you on the other things. Is baseball betting different now than back then? And why is it different? Dana, you talk to sportsbook managers. Is do you agree back in the day? I'm talking about when I was there in the 90s, you were there. Was baseball easier to win back then than it is today? And if it was, why?
Well, I think our approach to betting on baseball was much simpler during the day, and Wes can attest to this. I mean, I remember walking in to a casino for the first time in 1992, a casino called the Las Vegas Club in the middle of summer. And I remember I would listen a lot to what other people were saying. I mean, first of all, I felt like I was in my element finally. And all people talked about was starting pitching. They never talked about bullpens. They never talked about bench depth. They never talk about guys coming up from the minor leagues. I mean, there was never any discussion other than who was starting the day. And I remember vividly when Roger Clemens would start, there would be no other option than to bet Clemens. But there was a time where your thinking was simpler, and it was easier, I think, at that time to beat the books at Major League Baseball. Today, I think it's more difficult. And the reason why it's more difficult is because we simply have more information. And you would think, well, we have more information. Why would that not make it easier for us to bet baseball? And the simple reason is many of us don't know how to filter that information. I remember the Stardust had a little bit of a a room off the side of the sports book back in the day when they were still manually putting up numbers. And in this room was computer readouts of all these numbers. And I thought to myself at the time, being raw and green, I thought, why would they give us all this information? Why? It's almost like they're trying to help us. They weren't trying to help us. They were confusing us. And baseball has never been more confusing than it is today because it is the one sport. I hear people say all the time, well, it's the one, it's easiest to beat. Well, yeah, that might be true from a simplistic viewpoint, but it is the one sport besides hockey where you not only have to beat, you have to pick winners, but you also have to beat the money line, which often is adjusted quicker than it's ever been. I mean, back in the day, those money lines were not adjusted quick. You could get information before the books. You could get a sharp edge quicker than the books many times. That's just not the case today. So it's more difficult to bet baseball today than it used to, simply because we are overloaded with information and they are a lot better at making sharp lines than they used to be.
What do you think, Sniper?
Yeah, 100% agree. So, with information and technology and analytics and sabermetrics and, models, algorithms, all this stuff, you would, as Dana said, you would think that would help the bettor. But really, in my opinion, all that does is help the bookmaker. I mean, the bookmakers have access to all this information too, which is why they create very sharp lines. But I will say, way back in the day, Dana was talking about 1992. So if we want to go down memory lane, back in the day, and Dana will remember this as well, pitchers used to hit back in the ancient times, right? Pitchers, they don't have to hit anymore. We have the DH in the National League as well as the American League. Dana will remember a time when National League totals would be 6.5 and 7.5. As opposed to typically 8.5 is like, 8.5 is your typical over under now these days because the pitchers don't have to hit anymore. To be honest with you, I like it. I'm a National League guy. I'm obviously a Dodger fan. I've always been a National League guy, but I never liked the pitcher hitting. I get their strategy with it. The pitcher needs to be good at bunting, moving guys over. But I always just felt it was just watching those pitchers try to swing the bat. It was not very pretty. I'll never forget when Bartolo Colon hit a home run. Funniest thing you ever saw, and people couldn't believe it. But I think baseball's better for not having the pitchers hit. It's a much better product. Obviously, that increases the totals to 8.5, 9.5, 10.5. Coors Field, you got to keep your eye on different stadiums and tendencies. Like we could talk about the wind at Wrigley Field and why they do not put totals up at Wrigley Field specifically until the day of, because they want to know which way the wind is blowing, because that affects the total in a great way. Coors Field in August, you can just pretty much go and bet the over almost every single game, and you'll probably cash at about 60%. It's another little angle I have. But yeah, I've been a baseball savant. I played baseball in high school, a little bit of minor league as well, and so it's my first love. Love me some MLB. Happy this season's here. So the season starts on Wednesday evening. We have the Yankees at the Giants, and this game is on Netflix. So Netflix has a deal with the MLB, and I hear that Barry Bonds is actually a Netflix analyst. That's probably another discussion for another time that we can have. Interested to hear Dana's thoughts about that. But obviously baseball is big business. It's still big business. It always has been. If Netflix is getting involved, I think that ESPN now has the MLB package. It used to be MLB TV or MLB.com. Now it's ESPN has bought the rights to it. So it's never been bigger than it is now, and it's going to keep getting bigger, and very excited that the season is here.
I have a question for you, Sniper. When you say the National League have a designated hitter, right?
They do now.
And not the American League?
No, so both leagues do. So the DH,
do.
So the DH is universal now. It's National League and the American League have designated hitters.
What happens when Ohtani's on the mound? And
so
then is he the designated hitter as well?
Yes, for those games that he pitches. And you bring up a good point. I wanted to talk a little bit about the Dodgers. So he did not pitch last year. He had an elbow issue. So he actually didn't even play the field last year. He was just designated hitter full time. and which is also interesting because he would not have played for the Dodgers unless that DH was implemented shortly after COVID. So that actually helped the Dodgers acquire Ohtani, his decision to go to the Dodgers. But so, yeah, the way it works with Ohtani, he will be pitching this year. By the way, he's actually looked okay in spring training. He's struck out some batters. I've been watching a little bit. But when he pitches, he will be DHing. And then the other 4 days that he does not pitch, when there's another starting pitcher, he will just specifically be DHing. He will not be playing the field. So one day he'll be pitching and hitting in the game. The next 4 days he will only be hitting, if that makes sense.
Okay. Let's go back to the basics of bet, because I'm a bettor, as you know. So I'm always thinking gambling and gambling strategy. So I gamble on the NFL predominantly. Now, my strategy is when I watch preseason games, and every team is not showing their cards. They're using different players, giving opportunity to draft choices that they bring up, or guys under the radar to see how they are, give them some opportunity. But they know pretty much who their starting lineup is going to be, who they're going to field on opening day. But these guys don't play the whole preseason, even though it's actually cut down. It used to be 4 weeks, right? Now it's NFL preseason is 3 weeks, but 2 or 3 weeks. But
3 weeks.
I tend as a bettor to want to watch a few weeks. Obviously baseball is every day. NFL is every Sunday or Monday, and they have it on different days now. But I like to get a feel of, like, I can't attack early. Whenever I attack early, I don't do well because I really don't have a sense of the team. Now, baseball, we had the World Baseball Classic, right, recently. And so I guess it affected some spring training. But so it opens Wednesday. Are you in attack mode early? And if you are, what is your basis? Like, what are you seeing that makes you want to attack early, as far as being conservative early, seeing things play out for a couple weeks? And then, since it's a long season and there's baseball every day, you start attacking after. Or do you have some clues that I don't know that give you an edge to bet baseball early? Dana.
Well, for me, Wiz, it's certainly, I view it as a marathon. This is not something that I dive right into, although I have to be honest with you, I have to put checks and balances in place early on to protect myself from myself, because I do want to dive right in. I want to be on that Yankees-Giants game, which I probably will be at some point. But what I do like to do is I like for it to, go through the rotation once, take note of velocity amongst starting pitching, just so I know that what I saw last year is exactly what I'm going to be seeing this year. And of course, that also extends to the bullpen as well. But I'm a guy early on that likes to play numbers. I mean, this is a mathematical equation smashed together with the human element. That's the way that I look at baseball. It is a long season, so I do take it slow. And the rule that I have in place is I have a specific amount of games that I play early on. If I feel like I have a feel for those teams, pitchers, lineups, pens, then once I get to that point, then I'll extend a little bit. But say like day 2, I might play, when we have 11 games, I might play 2 games just to have something involved for customers. But I do like to ramp up, Wiz, because you have to make sure, going back to numbers, you can give me all the numbers in the world about what happened, but those numbers only tell you where you've been. They will never tell you where you're going. They might tell you where you're going, but you can't lean on them as something that you're going to take through the season. And by the way, like preseason baseball, over the last 8 to 10 years, you can guarantee that unders were going to hit at a ridiculous pace. even in the Cactus League. That was not the case this year. So if you leaned on past trends, your bankroll has already probably been hit pretty hard as far as preseason baseball was concerned. But I do like to go after favorites early and then underdogs May through September. For me, I don't chase dogs early in the baseball season. It's a 7-month marriage for me with a bunch of up and down. So I do look at specific numbers. Like, for instance, I like to stay in that 120 range to I hate to say this, 170, but it really depends on your bankroll. That seems to work early on, but once the season progresses into the warmer months, then you can start looking at underdogs. But early on, especially last year, early on favorites have done fairly well. I will transition to underdogs as the season goes on.
I just have a question, just for watching baseball a little bit towards the end of last season. I noticed it's the way the lineups are constructed, the pitching lineups are different than I remember it to be. It's like you have a starting pitcher who pitches, maybe they're on a pitch count. So they may pitch 70 pitch at the beginning of the season. I guess they don't really overwork them, right? They probably on a real strict pitch count. But there's specialists. Like, isn't the bullpen extremely important for success and failure? Like, more than ever as a kid, I don't remember the bullpen being, as important. You had your closer, you had a few in between, but now you got a guy coming in the 6th. You got a guy coming in the 7th. You got like 5 relievers, and then you got the mastermind at the end, right? The guy that's going to close it out. Is it different? I mean, is the way, has baseball changed the way managers manage the games?
Yeah, 100% baseball. I'm trying to think of a word here without cursing, but it has become let's just call it wussified. Okay, that's the word I'm going to use. Baseball has become very wussified. With starting, Nolan Ryan, I think, once threw 250 pitches in a game. And you weren't taking him out. You go out there to the mound and he'll tell you, you take me out of this game, I'll never pitch for you again. It's not like that these days. The analytics, the sabermetrics have kicked in. My Dodgers prime example. We've lost a few World Series, and people like to blame Dave Roberts for coming in and taking our starter out too soon or leaving the starter in too long. Because of the analytics and the sabermetrics. And, obviously you want to go left on left, like, right. You have a left-handed hitter coming up and you have a lefty warming up in the bullpen. Do you really pull the trigger? Do you take your starting, your Cy Young candidate starter out just because you want a left-handed pitcher pitching to a left-handed hitter? Is that really what you want to do? Or do you roll the dice and do you leave your starter in, right? So, but yeah, baseball is not the manly sport that it used to be. And you're right, especially early in the season, you are right. They are on pitch counts, a lot of these guys. And one thing that I do like to do, just as far as you're talking about betting baseball early, just a couple systems I have. I like to play on a team. Okay, if it's the right, not every time, but I like to play on a team looking to avoid a sweep. So if they're on a 3-game, homestand or whatever, they've lost the first 2 games. Baseball teams do not like getting swept. It's not a good look. They hear it from the manager. They hear it from ownership. Losing 3 in a row in baseball is not acceptable to a lot of these teams. So if a team has lost the first 2 or the first 3, and there's one more game, they call it, the last game of the homestand or whatever, I look to play on that team looking to avoid a sweep. That is a system I will look at even on the first weekend of baseball. If someone, they don't want to lose 3 in a row, it's just not a good start.
Yeah. Is it true? I talked to a really sharp baseball gambler, and he said to me he loves betting streaks. There's no other sport where, like, he'll catch a streak early. Like, a team will win like 3 games in a row, and they just think, I don't know, he knows it's clicking. And then he keeps betting the team. Now, obviously, the bookmakers adjust the lines.
Right.
So they're juicing the lines so you're laying a bigger number as the streak keeps going on and on and on. But I've seen and you've seen 15-game winning streaks, right? It's I mean, you've seen these ridiculous streaks. Do you believe in betting streaks, Dana?
For me, I don't like to pigeonhole a lot of people do that. I mean, that's for certain. But these books are going to make you pay for that streak. I mean, we even see it day one ish, technically, of the larger schedule. On Thursday, we see Milwaukee at 210 favorite already. The Cubs are a 210 favorite already. I mean, they're already throwing out these big numbers. You're going to pay for these kind of streaks. And I would ask you, I wanted to ask you too, Wes, about your system. There's got to be teams that you throw out, because we know the top teams that are going to go on the long winning streaks. Your Dodgers are going to go on a 10-game burner, but you also know you're going to have to give up $3 to get those on a streak. So are there teams that you throw out that you would say, okay, no matter what, I'm not getting on this, because even if they're on the road, I'm going to have to lay a lot of money?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the situation has to be right for the system. So I have systems, I have angles, but if your system tells you to, bet a minus 200, that's not really feasible. The juice is going to kill you. Why is that? I mean, we all know this, but I'll just say it for the viewers. So when you're dealing with juice in sports like hockey and baseball, where there's not a point spread, right? You just have your money lines. Maybe you have your run lines to reduce juice, but 2-1 is better than 3-2. 3-2 is better than 4-3. 4-3 is better than 5-4. And why is that? The juice will eat you alive eventually. So yes, you have to be very careful. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be rushing to the window to bet the Chicago White Sox just because my system says they've lost the first 2 games of the series and they're looking to avoid the sweep. The Chicago White Sox could very well get swept. So the situation has to be right for the system. But yes, there's definitely situations where you got to throw it out. You can't be laying minus 200, minus 300. That does not work for your bankroll. It's not going to be profitable. You will lose eventually if you do that.
And a lot of it, I'm sorry, Wiz. I mean, a lot of it probably has to do with what size bankroll you're actually starting with, because big bettors have no problem. I mean, we see sharp money coming in on $2 favorites all the time. They have no problem betting $2 favorites based upon their bankroll. But if you have a short bankroll, that's where you can never quite get momentum, because any kind of system that you think you're on eventually is going to kill you because of the lack of bankroll.
I know it's college basketball, but I'm, as a gambler, betting, so I really thought St. John's was going to beat Kansas yesterday. Now, so the spread was 3.5. When I like to attack the open right away, I know the game that I'm going to bet. I know the matchup ahead before the line's posted. So I waited up till midnight to get the first jump at the line. And I knew what I was going to take. I kind of knew. Now, I didn't want to lay the point spread because I was worried about that it could be a close game. And the point spread bothered me. So now I'm talking the money line. I'm taking St. John's to win the game, like you're taking the Yankees to beat Cleveland, or you have a matchup. In my head, I kind of knew the price that was worth taking. When they posted the price right off the bat, I waited. I kept punching my computer, refreshing, waiting for the opening line. And it came in at 146, minus 146. So right now, I didn't set 146 in my head. I knew what felt right and what felt wrong. I laid the 146, but now I'm trying to think of how I'm not going to take the point spread. How am I going to make like a teaser to get St. John's down to pick them with some other wager? But my first wager was the money line. I wasn't going to bet 155. I wasn't going to bet. It actually closed minus 160 to 170. I happened to get the best price that I was willing to risk. In baseball, don't you have a parameter that you set on every game? Like, don't you set a line? See, I set a line before the line comes out because then I can jump on it because I have my reasoning and I am either going to pass or play if I feel I've gotten the edge. Do you do the same when you're handicapping baseball? You know the matchup, you know who's starting, everything's formulated in your head. Now you're ready to make a move. It's going to be your play. They put the price up. At that point, do you do what kind of I did? It's too high. I'm not willing to lay 170. I'm willing, I have a ceiling because I could never, I don't care how big a bankroll I have, I ain't laying 2-1. I'm looking for another opportunity that's within my framework of comfort to play with. Do you have the same philosophy when you're doing when you're handicapping baseball and pretty much a price point? My price point was 146 with St. John's. If it was 155, I pass. I just can't do it because I kind of know what the threshold is where the risk reward it's not there anymore. Do you play the game the same way on a money line? Because baseball is basically run line, money line. So in St. John, in basketball and football, they juice the lines. They'll make it -1, say -3.5, -120, right?
Right.
So there's ways they juice it in their favor. But do you bet the way I'm thinking when I bet football or college basketball?
Yeah, for me, I don't like to once it hits -150, I'm not really interested anymore. And there is that thing about, being a handicapper on the website and betting professionally, right? Because it's two different mindsets. Wiz, you and I have talked, we've had a lot of conversations about this. Because ethically, as a handicapper on the website, I can't be giving out -170s, -180s. But if the value's there as a professional bettor, why would you not do it? As Dana was saying, if your bankroll permits, right? But just personally, I can't. -145 is about my cutoff. If I can find value there, then I will release it. I will bet it. Now, I love dogs in baseball. I love me some dogs. I love +120s. I love +130s. Finding, because you're not laying juice at that point. I mean, you can bet dogs 10 straight games and go 50% and you're making money, right? Because you're getting plus money on that side. So this also brings up a good conversation as far as live betting goes. I mean, let's say you have a dog. Let's say you have a +125 dog, right? And you take them to win the game and they score 2 runs in the first inning. Now, all of a sudden, they're the favorite, and the team that was favored, they're +150 for the game. You can grab the other team at +150. Now you're holding a +125 ticket on team A, a +150 ticket on team B. You're going to make money as long as you bet the same amount on both tickets, right? So that's another little strategy that I like to employ. But yeah, -145, -150 is probably my cutoff as far as juice.
You kind of shaking in agreement.
Yeah, same thing. And it's a great point that Wes brought up. I cannot put up something on a website that's more than $1.50. I just can't, because the fact of the matter is that bettor has a minimum that they want to win. So say even if we have a guy wants to win $500, well, now you're going to have to put up that amount of money minus $1.50 to win $500. And I'm also have to be very mindful when I'm putting up games that, hey, I'm using your bankroll too. So I want you to be, or I want to be even more careful about what I'm putting up, because I don't want you to go overboard because you think I'm putting improper emphasis or more emphasis on a game than I should be. So for me personally, yeah, it really depends on where I am. If a game's at 55, 60, I got good information. I feel very good about the game. I'm close to the team. as far as knowing in which direction they're trending. Yeah, I probably will do that. But I also have I don't bet to win X amount. I'm a flat better every single time, and whatever I win based on the money line. So yeah, that 150 for me is absolute cutoff to put up on a website. But personally, I will go a little bit more, never in that 2-to-1 range, but 55, 60 maybe at some point if the numbers say that this is a good play. Yeah, I'll definitely go there too. But I do have to make sure that when I'm putting games up for customers, I have an obligation to make sure that I'm putting them up responsibly.
Now let's talk specifics about this upcoming season. Every sport has managerial changes, coaching changes, player acquisitions, player teams dumping players, players going to the minor leagues, trades, everything. How is this season like? Managers, I don't know who left, what changed. Is there who, let's say last year to this year, what teams do you think, because of trades and staff changes, benefit the most this year? Who's going to improve the most? And what top teams are not going to be as good, in your opinion, Dana?
Well, the first one I'll tackle, which ones are going to benefit from a managerial change. And if I could use an example of a manager that took over midway through last year, and this is his first full season as a manager in Major League Baseball. But I think a guy like Donnie Kelly in Pittsburgh is going to be a massive addition. By all accounts, everybody loves playing for Kelly, and not saying that that the previous culture wasn't good, but that's the way it is in Pittsburgh. Now, Don Kelly came in, they married that with, hey, we're going to spend $110 million on payroll. We might go up a little bit depending on where we are at the trade deadline, but $110 million in Pittsburgh. You talk to people around that organization, and that breathes some life into that town that is a massive baseball town. That has been begging for a payroll just to go over $100 million, let alone what the Dodgers are spending. So I think that quote unquote new hire is going to be massive for the Pittsburgh Pirates this year. There are some losses. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen in Texas. We all know that the Rangers are kind of in sell mode right now while pretending to be competitive, but I think they're in a division where third place looks probably where they're going to go, and who knows where the Athletics are going to finish. Maybe Texas will be on the bottom, but bringing in Skip Schumacher for Bruce Bochy, I think that's good as far as stabilizing the culture in Texas, but you cannot take away a former National League Manager of the Year. Schumacher is a former National League Manager of the Year with Miami, but you can't take away Bruce Bochy and say, hey, look, not only are we making a bunch of changes here, losing Simeon, and now we're going to also have a new guy at the helm. Bochy, to me, I would have felt a lot better having him there to go through this transition. But Skip Schumacher certainly plays an aggressive form of baseball, which they will like in Texas. I also am very interested to see the effect of what Walt Weiss is going to do in Atlanta. He takes over from Brian Snitker, who was obviously one of the top managers outside of maybe Bobby Cox in Atlanta. So there's a lot of pressure on him to perform. Unfortunately for Atlanta, they're dealing with the same things that they dealt with last year. They already have injuries that they're dealing with. We saw today that Spencer Strider went on that 60-day IL, and pitching wise, they're a mess right now, and they're competing in a tough division. So I want to see what Skip Schumacher does in Texas. I want to see what Walt Weiss does in Atlanta. Craig Albanez and Baltimore is interesting. They put a lot of money into a team that it's win now in Baltimore. That's really what they're telling everybody. So it will be interesting to see. But certainly there's others. Bob Melvin in San Francisco as well. He's taken over, or Tony Vitiello has taken over his first season from Bob Melvin. So, he's if you know about him, he's a first-year coach and he's a college baseball coach. Jumped from Tennessee to Major League Baseball, so that will be interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the Giants, actually, Dan. It's funny you brought him up. So Tony Vitello you'll like this, Wiz. By the way, Skip Shoemaker, he has the perfect name for a manager, being that his first name is Skip, like the skipper of a baseball team, right? But anyway, so the San Francisco Giants, Wiz, you'll like this. They hired a college baseball coach to be their next manager. It's the first time that I remember. I've been following baseball since I was a kid. I don't really ever remember, maybe Dana can help me with this. I don't remember any major league team ever going to the college ranks to get a manager and bringing him on board, but they did. They went to the University of Tennessee. Tony Vitello, fantastic college baseball manager, and they brought him in to be the skipper of the San Francisco Giants. Obviously, my arch rival, me being a Dodger fan. But he's been working. They brought him over. He flew to the Dominican Republic to meet with like Willie Adames and Devers and a couple guys on the team. He flew to South Korea to meet with Jung-Hoo Lee, who obviously plays on the San Francisco Giants as well. He has been working hard to build camaraderie with this team. I'm kind of high on the Giants. I know they play in the division with my Dodgers, and the Dodgers are probably going to win that division. Although I do have a future that we could talk about momentarily on the Dodgers. But I'm kind of high on the Giants. Matt Chapman, Rafael Devers is going to be his first full season here with the San Francisco Giants. And obviously they are playing on opening night, as I alluded to earlier, on Wednesday evening. I think the Giants can make a little bit of noise. I would not be surprised if they get a wild card spot or even challenge my Dodgers for this division. I'm kind of high on the Giants this year, for sure.
Give me a read on – go ahead.
Come on, man. I mean, you guys, and I'm saying Dodgers, I mean, there is no way. I don't think anybody's coming within 10 games of them. I don't know if you're trying to create self-excitement for yourself. I don't know if you're just trying to not look ahead to October, but your ticket's already punched. And I don't know, man. I just think that this is and by the way, Vitello is the first ever to jump from college to the majors. But to me, this is a Giants organization that is really struggling for direction. And I think it's it's interesting if if they're struggling for direction and then you're bringing a guy in with absolutely no experience, everything looks great in March. Let's see what it looks like in July.
So Sniper, you're a Dodger fan. So you're talking about the Giants as a threat to the Dodgers, but you're keeping a poker face knowing that the Dodgers are going to kick their ass, right? No, truthfully, are the Dodgers that good? And it's basically a gimme that they're going to win. Okay. So you're like Patino yesterday when he wins on a last-second shot by a guy that never shot on a layup, and he just beat Bill Self. And he knows he just had one of the great wins of all time, because they had a 14-point lead. They almost blew it, but he beats Bill Self to get to the Sweet 16. And he has a complete poker face knowing that I know him. He's saying, screw this guy. I beat this guy's ass. There's no way this guy was beating me. So your poker face is telling me the Dodgers are definitely going to, and what Dana's saying, Giants are not going to smell the Dodgers, right?
So let's just look at their season win total. So the Giants over-under team wins is 80.5. Okay, and 162 game season. So odds makers are predicting they're slightly under 500 as a team. I think they're a little bit better than that. Do I think that they are going to, beat my Dodgers for the division? Probably not. The Dodgers over-under, I believe it's 102.5. I had that on my notes. Yeah, 102.5 for the Dodgers. So the Dodgers are expected to win 22 more games than the San Francisco Giants. Yes, maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to throw you guys off the scent a little bit. But I do think that the Giants are better than advertised. And I do in fact, I'll just tell you, I'll give you a little future. I'll throw out a future here right now, since we're talking about it. I like the Dodgers under 102.5 wins this year. Can they still win the division if they win 100 and they fall short of that? Of course they can, right? But remember, the Dodgers, they've been World Series champs 2 years in a row. It's a lot of postseason baseball for a lot of these guys. Also, they've had guys in the World Baseball Classic playing March ball as well. So a lot of these guys, well, not a lot of them, but, majority of the team, they've been playing baseball almost 3 years straight with no time off. Throw in the fact that Shohei is pitching this year, and I think his offensive numbers will not be quite what they were last year because it's going to take a toll on him. He's going to be pitching on last year. Remember, last year he didn't pitch. So, the other thing with the Dodgers too, we always, I mean, nothing is more sure in life than death, taxes, and the Dodgers pitching injuries. They have injuries every single year. I'm telling you. And we got Yamamoto, Glasnow, Shohei Ohtani. We have Roki Sasaki. He was hurt last year too. Emmett Sheehan. Edwin Diaz, we did get him from the New York Mets. He's our new closer. But I'm telling you, we always have issues with injuries on this pitching staff. It happens every single year. And I do not think we're going to win 102.5 games. I think we might hit the century mark. But yeah, I think the Dodgers are going to struggle to win 103 games, whether you call that a struggle or not.
Yeah, but in the past, Sniper, what happens when Dave Roberts does. He starts playing around a little bit. He gets that 10-game lead in the division, starts playing around, all of a sudden your starters are missing some outings. He gets this team prepared for October. And let's not forget that 2027 is no guarantee. And the Los Angeles Dodgers know that if there is a salary cap, which there needs to be a cap and a floor, if that is implemented, it's not going to be as easy to win titles. So I think they're going to be focused on getting this three-peat. Let's put it this way. They are such a dominant favorite to win the World Series, not even their division, that the next three teams combined percentage-wise on Fangraphs are not higher than the Dodgers, which has a 27% chance of winning the World Series. I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to add that 100 up by 29 other teams.
Yeah, Wiz.
Question.
Yeah, so Wiz. So the Dodgers are plus 225 to win the World Series, which is ridiculous. They're plus 225. The next team behind them is the Yankees at plus 1,000. That's
no way. Plus 1,000. Well, talking about these teams in my neck of the woods, give me a read on Yankees, Mets, and the Red Sox. Go ahead, Dana.
Well, I will say this. It's really good to see where Garrett Cole is right now. I was surprised to see how well he was throwing in the spring. His fastball's in the mid-90s already. That's massive for the Yankees, and they took a lot of heat by not really adding a lot to their lineup in atypical Yankee fashion. But look, when Garrett Cole, Carlos Rendon, Clark Schmidt, those guys come back to the rotation. If they come back, well, Clark's not going to come back until after the All-Star break, but certainly Cole and Rendon need to come back, and they need to be effective. And in fact, the Yankees might be one of my teams that might be a little bit overrated this year. You got Max Fried at the top of that rotation, but after that, it is absolutely a crapshoot. And I saw Ryan Weathers the other day just get absolutely destroyed in the spring. So, we'll see. He's certainly not as good as his dad David, but 11.68 ERA in the spring, which absolutely means nothing. Which I guess is another topic as well, as the conversion between spring and regular season. But man, I'd like to see these guys with good numbers going into the regular season rather than the numbers that we have seen. Now we will. Speaking of the Yankees, Wiz, we will see the Yankees go with a 4-man rotation to start this season. They have 4 days off in the next 13 days. So, unfortunately, Luis Gil is going to be the odd man out in the rotation so far. So you got Schlittler, Warren, and you would have Ryan Weathers on that 4-day rotation. Yeah. I think it's a team that's going to be a little bit overrated.
You just said something, and something I want to throw out there when you're betting. when a handicapper gives a game, you're betting the game based on the pitching matchups. There's plenty of times an hour before the game, a pitcher's scratched. You always want to make your bet as listed pitchers.
Right.
Right? You don't want,
Right.
because there's no way you're giving the, go ahead.
Correct. So if you bet totals, if you bet a baseball total, listed pitchers are mandatory. The book will make you list the pitcher because totals change with different pitchers. So it's mandatory if it is a total. You can either bet action or you can bet listed pitchers. I would recommend betting listed pitchers in case there's a pitching change. The way to get around the bullpen, and we haven't really talked about this yet, is you can bet first fives, right? You can bet the first 5 innings. And, it's a unique strategy to not have the bullpens come into play. It's my starting pitcher versus your starting pitcher. Who's going to come out and pitch the best? You can even do first 5 totals. You can do first 5 unders, first 5 overs. You can even do team totals. You can do team total, team A under 2.5 runs type of deal in the first 5. So a lot of ways to skin a cat, as they say, and ways to bet baseball and ways to beat it. One thing I also wanted to throw out there to the viewers, one rule I have, Dana could probably attest to this. I do not bet the run line. When I say the run line, I don't lay the minus 1.5 runs with the home team specifically. Okay. Why is this? Because you might only get 24 outs instead of 27 outs. What do I mean by that? If you are the home team and you're laying the 1.5, let's say you're up 5-1 and you get to the top of the 9th inning, visiting team gets the hit. They get their 27 outs, but you don't come up in the bottom of the 9th inning. There's no reason for you to do it. The game's over. So you laid 1.5 runs with a team that only got 24 outs versus a team that got 27 outs. Not a very good long-term bet, in my opinion.
You shook your head in agreement there, Dana.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good strat. I love listening to everybody else's strategy on these things, and I try to keep things as simple as possible. And in fact, I'll start off just playing money lines until I have a real good feel for. I think the further away I get away from money lines, whether it's going to totals or going to run lines, the further away I get from my sweet spot, which is money lines, which is where you can make the most money. But I have. Part of doing this job, guys, I mean, you'll attest to this, I'm sure, is we notice patterns, especially people that love baseball. We notice patterns. And one pattern I do notice is teams that are plus on the run line, meaning plus 1.5 and plus money. I have noticed they just do not win. So I know I'm like, man, this – to me, if I was a novice bettor and I was looking at, you're going to give me plus 1.5 and plus money. Oh yeah, I'm taking that all day. And 9 times out of 10, that just does not work out, because if you're in a plus situation, you have 2 teams that are far apart from each other. So I have noticed that. I try to stay away from those things, but I dive into the run lines a little bit further into the season. And as I said before, I start out with, let's make sure what I think I know is what are the facts. And so then once I know those, I will start getting into totals and then eventually run lines if I feel strongly about it.
What I find interesting is I have 2 handicappers here on, 2 professionals, and both of you have different styles, which is great. Because there's, like Sniper said, there's different ways to skin a cat. You have, Dana, you kind of stay in a lane, and you stay in the lane that's most comfortable for you. And you only deviate with time a little bit. You'll go left and right with time, but you have a lane. Where it appears Sniper is more, I guess the word is flexible, but not in a negative way. Like Dana, it's not like, I understand your method, but you have another player like Sniper that's looking at different things. Like that 5-inning line makes sense to me because he's plugged in. His thinking is different. it doesn't make it right or wrong. It's the different styles. That's what I'm finding interesting but I have a question. You're professional handicappers. I'm a horse handicapper. So when I give a horse out that I like, and in my mind, I'm going to bet him to win at 4-1, but I'm not going to bet him at 2-1, right? But I can't say anything. Like I don't put on my sheet the parameters. Like I make the odds and that's the bet. And I hate doing that. I have to do that because it would be too much work to start overanalyze, like don't bet it. I'm giving it out at -145, but at 148, don't bet. Like it's more work and I just feel you roll with it. Whatever the line is, you roll with it and let the buyer make the judgment. Maybe I'm going to bet half the money. Okay. Because now it becomes too confusing. Do you agree that when you put up your bet, whatever it is, it could be the NBA, it could be, college basketball, lines change. You're putting it up at 7 a.m. and the game is 6 p.m. The line's going to change. So be it, right? That's the way it goes. You're making the pick. And I think that's the quandary of all us handicappers. Like it is what it is, right?
You don't have a choice. You have to, because you want to get those games out because, if we're all being honest, part of what we do is sales. You got to put those games out. And
do
so
baseball lines change drastically?
Yes.
Through the day?
Sure, they could.
145,
sure.
A -145 become a -160?
Yeah, for sure.
We've seen it a million times. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's why too, like when you put games up, you also have to be and that's why experience really matters in this game. You have to know where you anticipate the lines going. That's why we set 150 as a parameter, but really you want to be in that 20 to 25 range. So any movement really doesn't hurt your customer in any way. But you are well aware of where the money is going, and the money. You want to talk about differences? Well, back in the day, the lines would move with the money. Now the lines move with sharp money. And you used to. I used to hear people all the time say, "Well, just go against the public." Well, now it's go with the sharp money, because if you could break these down, I could break it down by books across the country. Sharp money does extremely well at a lot of books. But people think, I'm going to go and grab the bigger number. I'm going to go against the public. Well, you're not going against the public. You're going against sharp money.
So let's wrap up the show by each of you giving out two futures. One that you really like, regardless of price. You're not going to, let's take the Dodgers out of the mix. Okay. Any other team.
Thank you. Let's just take them out of the mix.
Let's take them out of the mix. Sorry.
And for reference, I'm a Pirates fan. So nobody wants this strike to happen in 27 more than me.
Hey, Dana, most valuable, I have 107 bobbleheads in my apartment. And my favorite bobblehead is Roberto Clemente. So I look at the Roberto Clemente every day. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, I have Mean Joe Green's helmet. I have every bobblehead from every great Steelers. My Christmas tree, the skirt is a Pittsburgh Steelers skirt, right? The star is a Pittsburgh Steelers star, right? Nobody wants the Pirates to win more than me. I'm just a Pittsburgh, right? So
if that gives you any indication, Wiz, of where this organization has been over the last 50 years, you're still leaning on Roberto Clemente's bobblehead. We haven't created one since then that you would want to display. Sorry, Andrew.
I put the last two popes outside of Roberto Clemente, Pope Leo and the other pope, right? Hoping that this could maybe be the year. So Dana, other than the Dodgers, forget the Dodgers. Give the public one future and one bomb future, one dog future to bet.
I mean, I'm not giving out anybody but the Dodgers. If you're going to talk about a future, I mean, they're plus 225 now, Wes, on a future. I mean, they're going for a three-peat. I mean, you can't throw them out because it's like saying, well, I'm not going to bet team A over team B because there's no value there. Well, there's no value in a losing ticket as well. I mean, they added Kyle Tucker, who will hit second behind Ohtani. He's had 22 home runs plus for 5 straight years. They were second in runs last year. They were second in OPS. Every Dodger in that lineup has hit at least 20 home runs, except Hee-Sung Kim, who had only had 144 plate appearances. So if you max that out over a season, that's pretty close to 20. So
okay, I'm going to pose it another way, Dana. I'm giving you $100.
Yeah,
$80 is for any play you want to make. $20 is a bomb.
Okay.
Take the $80. Who are you betting? Oh, you can bet the Dodgers.
I'm betting the Dodgers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're making enough for a few In-N-Out burger meals. That's good. No problem.
Well, you only gave me $80.
$80, 2 to 1. You're doubling it, more than doubling your money, right?
Yeah,
that's true. Okay, that's your play. Who's the bomb? Who's the bomb for $20?
Detroit Tigers. I think AJ Hinch has got something going there. They play in a very winnable division. I love the fact that they went out and got Framber Valdez, and if it was anything like he's been at the peak of his career, anybody who has won World Series, you can look at their starting rotation and point to a 1 and 1A, which you certainly can in Detroit, and then you're going to follow that up with Flaherty. You're going to and quietly, nobody's talking about Justin Verlander going back to Detroit, and then of course Casey Mize, who looked okay in the spring. But
what's the odds?
28 to 1.
25. Yeah, 28 to 1 neighborhood.
28 to 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got a chalk and a 28 to 1.
Yeah.
That's fine.
My
Sniper,
$20.
what are you doing? You got $100, 80 on anything, 20 on a bomb. And I know you're
so
not.
I do want to say, I do want to say,
the
I like
Giants.
the Blue Jays. Yeah, I do kind of like the Giants. I don't know if I like them with my $80 though.
Okay.
I'll say this: I do like real quick before I get to my money that you just gave me. I do like the Toronto Blue Jays to regress this year. Just losing Bichette. Bichette went to the Mets, obviously. It kind of seems like in any sport, Wiz, you probably know this. Doesn't it always seem like the team that loses the Super Bowl always has a crappy season the next year? I kind of feel like it's the same thing with baseball. I feel like the Blue Jays are just that World Series loss, Game 7, just the way it happened. I think they're going to regress. They have Scherzer, Cody Ponce, Eric Lauer, Dylan Cease. But they have some guys banged up. Bieber's banged up. Barrios, he's not going to start the year. Yasavage, who was really good in the World Series, he's yet to be proven throughout an entire regular season. So I like the Blue Jays under 88.5 wins. That's just a lean I'm going to throw out. Now, as far as my money, so I have $80. I have an 80. We're splitting this 80-20, Wiz.
80-20, but 20's got to be a price play.
All right, I'm going to go $80 on the Seattle Mariners. Okay. So obviously Dana likes the Tigers. I like the Tigers a lot too. Great pitching staff. I like the Valdez addition as well. Obviously Skubal, a fantastic pitcher for the Tigers. But if you remember the Tigers, they beat the Mariners last year in the postseason. They got Brendan Donovan from the Cardinals. That's a very big addition. He's going to be playing infield. Obviously the Big Dumper, Cal Raleigh, which is probably the greatest nickname in the history of sports, the Big Dumper. Right, Julio Rodriguez, you have a Rosarena, pretty good pitching staff. Gilbert, Kirby, Brian Wu, Luis Castillo. I can get behind the Seattle Mariners, so I'm going to go $80 on the Seattle Mariners. That's 11 to 1. Okay, so $80 at 11 to 1 on the Seattle Mariners. That's to win the World Series. And with my $20, you know what? F it, Wiz. I'm going the San Francisco Giants to win the World Series at 55 to 1.
I love that.
And hey, I'm a Dodger fan, and I'm taking the Giants. So you can't say that. I'm a homer.
That's
So how about that?
ballsy. That's ballsy. I
One,
like
one
that.
other thing. One other thing, real quick. I do have to say I'm pretty disappointed in the Dodgers because after we've had the stadium in LA since 1962, and Yankee Stadium, Fenway Park, Wrigley Field. These are all iconic names, right, Wiz, that you've heard of for many, many years. The Dodgers have finally sold out, and their stadium is going to be called Uniqlo Field at Dodger Stadium.
What is it? What is it?
Uniqlo Field. I don't even know what Uniqlo.
What does Uniqlo mean?
Oh, it says it's a Tokyo-based fashion retailer. Obviously, there's got to be Shohei, something behind Shohei, right?
Yeah, they probably gave the Dodgers up $500 million to name it Uniqlo Field.
Yeah.
Right.
So Dodger Stadium, the Dodgers officially sold out, and they did it, and I'm pretty disappointed about it.
Yeah, I mean that's a lousy name. That is a lousy name. But money talks.
Yeah.
Is a future, like if I said to you, who's going to win the most valuable player in the American League? Is there a future on that? Is it a stupid bet? I mean,
for sure.
Is it a realistic bet to make, or to question you to give out
as long as Shohei Ohtani does not get hurt, he's a lock to win the MVP in the National League, only because he's pitching and he's hitting and no one else does it. So, I mean, I would say I don't have them in front. In fact, I'm looking at them right now while we're MLB player futures. Maybe I can. Yeah, exactly. It's not even worth betting. It's like a coin flip. And to be honest with you,
it is worth betting because he's going to win.
Yeah, but if he gets hurt. Yeah, but if he gets hurt, though, you know what I mean?
If Soto gets hurt, what are you going to do? Acuna and Soto are your next closest options. Again, you want value, but there's no value in ripping up your ticket. Your two best players in Major League Baseball right now in the American League and the National League is Ohtani and Judge. Those are your options. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to go to Bobby Witt or Cal Raleigh.
Okay, I got a harder question for you for a bet. Here's one. Who in the American League is going to steal the most bases? Do they have a prop for that?
I'm going to go Bobby Witt. I'm going to say Bobby Witt Jr. off the top of my head.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
What's his price?
That I would have to find. That's probably not readily available here. I could probably find it, but it would take too long for the show.
So they do have futures on a lot of different things, right?
Yeah.
A lot of okay. Well, I want to make a bet. I want to make one $500 bet. I'm going to bet I'm going to bet $1,000. Give me one play, Dana, to put that $500 on. I don't care what it is, what the bet is. I want to bet 500. Give me a play.
Okay, so let's put some parameters on this. Are we talking about a game? Are we talking about a future? Are we
not a game? I want a future bet, right? I want to bet $500. Give me one situation.
Let's go. So you can have some fun with this because I can easily say Ohtani. Let's go and say O'Neal Cruz to win the stolen base title. Let's go with that.
But okay, so I'm at 500. What's the payout now?
Wiz, I mean, okay. Let me find
is it 2-1?
No. It wouldn't be that. It'd be plus. Okay, let me find it. You bring
I'm putting my money down as soon as this show.
It'd probably be. I would say it'd be like 4-1, 5-1, maybe neighborhood off the top of my head, if I had to guess.
And I bet you, I go to any of those sites and they cut me off for $50. Like,
okay, O'Neal Cruz, who tied last year in the National League for stolen bases, is at 20-1. Have fun, because
$500 at 20-1.
I mean, I'd bet Ohtani, but it's not my money.
No, I don't want. No, okay. What's your bet, Sniper?
I'm going to say that the Toronto Blue Jays do not make the playoffs at plus 140.
Nice.
Okay. That's okay. Okay, well, I think I'm going to bet the whole 500 on Sniper's play and $10 on your play, Dana. No, I'm
Hey, well,
kidding.
no, that's
No,
okay.
I'm
Hey, but
kidding.
let me
I'm
ask
kidding.
you this. Let me ask you this then, Sniper. How do you feel about the Boston Red Sox and the Baltimore Orioles? Because if
Yeah,
you
well,
feel
obviously,
good about those teams, then you're right.
yeah, no,
If
I
you
agree
feel
with
like
you.
Toronto's going
Obviously,
to regress.
yeah, I think so. I just think the Bichette loss is really big too. The big bat right in the middle of that order. Obviously, yeah, the Red Sox. Alex Cora is a really good manager. I've always been a big fan. Crochet, fantastic pitcher. I think the Red Sox can do quite well this year. And the Orioles, like you said, they're probably here to stay. A lot of young talent on that team. And it kind of just goes to that what I was talking about earlier. The loser of whatever whether it's the World Series, the Super Bowl, they always tend to regress, and I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I think the Blue Jays struggle this year.
Okay. Well, I mean, this was a great show, a lot of information on this show, right? I mean, we covered a lot of bases.
That's all I
Uh,
know.
yeah.
I
Well,
got nothing left.
you know a lot more than that. Okay.
I
So,
gave you
so,
everything.
so we're gonna have shows throughout the season, right? Dana's gonna do shows. We'll reconvene, maybe have the three of us on again. Sniper will do a show with Dana because I like better than one person talking, two
Yeah.
people having a conversation. So throughout the season, Wizard Sports Picks, we're going to have videos, and we'll decide how many we want, during the week and during the month. But we're going to keep abreast of it at least weekly because things change quickly. And you guys know a ton about baseball. I mean, it's you two professionals. Um, Wednesday, the second show of our NCAA betting tournament. Now, we started with four guys, each had a grand. Nobody's in a body bag, believe it or not. All four are back at
Well,
the
that's
table.
good.
No, all four are back at the table, and three of them are showing a profit. One has to make some creative play to get back into the mix. But we're going to tackle the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight. The lines will be out. We'll give our reasons. That will be live Wednesday at 6 Eastern, and then you can view it after. We had a lot of people view our first show, like almost 400, which is pretty damn good, considering we're just starting out. And then at the end of that show on Wednesday, the wizard himself will give a brief analysis of two major Kentucky Derby prep races. Now, the Derby is the first Saturday in May. We have the prep races, the key prep races this weekend and the following weekend. So this Saturday is the Florida Derby, of which me and Sniper have a live big price future on a horse in the Florida Derby. We got big odds in this race. We bet it before this horse won the prep for the Florida Derby. So we have a lot of interest in this race because if he wins the Florida Derby, that huge odds we have, he will be one of the favorites.
Yeah.
So we have some interest in there, but the Florida Derby at Gulfstream Park is this Saturday, and the Arkansas Derby at Oak Lawn Park. So what I'm hoping it's going to be at the end of the show. So I'm dangling a little carrot there. So people have to suffer through the hour of the sports show to get to the racing analysis unless they fast forward, of which I'm eliminating the fast forward mechanism. So they're going to have to listen to the sports show, which will be really well worth it. So we'll do that on Wednesday, and I appreciate both of you. I mean, I was impressed by how much knowledge you have in that sport, in the sport of baseball. And I'm hoping that we get customers when we highlight the two of you. I mean, I would want to buy your picks. I may subscribe. So, I mean, it's very important that people know who the face is behind the selections because there's quite a bit, and there's quite a bit a different variance on how you approach the game and how you approach betting. So I think this was a really interesting and very high quality show. And I appreciate the time to do this. And we'll do this more often each week. So thanks again. I hope you enjoyed it.
You know, the two most beautiful things about baseball is, number one, the field dimensions. So every team has their own dimensions, right? So football field's always, your 100 yards. It's the same dimensions each way. Basketball court, same thing. Hockey rink, same thing. Baseball, you get the green monster in left field. You just have different elements. That's always very interesting. And also, it's the only sport with really no clock. The game could hypothetically go on forever, for all eternity. So
I'm going to end with a little story. Okay, I was 12 years old. I loved the New York Mets. It was Tom Seaver, the 69 Mets, okay, when they won it all. So it was in Flushing, New York. So you took the number 7 train. I was 12 years old, and it was the National League Championship. The winner would go to the World Series. It wasn't the World Series. I cut school, and I went to Shea Stadium on the number 7 train, and I bought a ticket, the cheapest ticket that I could get. I had no money. So it was like $10, and you were in the last row, right? And the way out in right field. As the game was going on, my plan as a 12-year-old kid wearing this long blue jacket, light blue jacket, was to sneak down slowly, edge my way to the first row behind the Met dugout. It took me 6 innings as I slithered my way like a snake. And I finally got behind the dugout, and I pleaded with the people on the seat that could I just lean down, just lean and stay there without them ratting me out. Now, back then, you didn't have the police on the horses, protecting the field at the end of the game, right? So my idea was, as soon as the game was over and the Mets won the game, because they were winning, I would run to second base. I would leap the dugout, outbeat everybody, and I wanted to steal second base.
It's a great idea.
Right. So as soon it's 3-2 on the batter, I'm holding the dugout, the top of the dugout. The Mets win, and here I am running to second base. No, I outbeat the rest of the crowd. I get to second base, and I'm trying to pull it up, and I can't. I can't get because it's staked into the ground. I turn, and thousands of people are running towards me, and I go, "What the hell do I do?" So I go to plan B. Plan B was move to the outfield and stuff my pockets and the jacket with Met grass that I'm going to sell the next day to school for 25 cents an envelope of Met grass. I go, I stuff the grass, I'm tearing the grass out, I stuff it in my pockets, I go home, put it in envelopes, and I sell it the next day. And I clean out. I walk around the corridor saying, Met grass here, 25 cents an envelope. And I clean out. I sell everything. Now, fast forward to the following summer. And I go to Hall of Fame baseball camp. I want to be a catcher. And I'm in Pauling, New York. And I'm sitting there, and it's the All-Star break, and all the kids, 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, are sitting in this big room watching TV, and they're putting on the 69 Met game, the game that I was at. And all of a sudden, the game is over, and I'm sitting there, and there's this jerk that's running towards second base. They show it, as all these kids are watching. And here I am watching myself try to tear second base out with my blue, and then they show it on TV. And the kids are saying, what kind of jerk is that? What kind of jerk is that trying to steal second base? So that's my story of the 69 Mets as a kid. That's how much I loved baseball back then. I actually have on my wall right here, my favorite player was Henry Aaron, the greatest ambassador to the game. I have his jersey. Now, it's not the original one. It's in Cooperstown. But he signed 50 jerseys after he broke Babe Ruth's record. And I went to an auction and bought the best signed jersey of his, authenticated by Beckett's, Cooperstown. It's only 50 that he signed. And it's Hall of Fame, 1982, most valuable player. And his signature, 765 home runs. That's how much I love baseball back in the heyday. You know, I don't know what happened how I lost my interest, but having a show like this, you're starting to get my blood boiling again to get back into baseball, because my really good friend, and I want to ask you guys, because I haven't followed his career afterwards, but I knew he became a commentator. Curtis Granderson, who's my friend, who I actually hit a Grand Slam home run for me when I had Aspire Basketball Academy. I got Kobe Bryant, gave me his jersey, which you see back there, game worn signed jersey. And Curtis hit a grand slam for me when he was on the Blue Jays. He became an analyst, and a pretty good one. Is he still an analyst? Is he still, do you know?
Yeah. I think he works for TBS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great player. I mean, he started his career in Detroit, played for the Yankees, played for the Mets. He played when Jeter played, during that time. He had a couple great years.
Yeah.
Really good, a really good player, and a great speaker, very highly intelligent. I'm sure he does a good job on TBS as a commentator. So just a little, I always try to have a little story here about this little jerk 12-year-old that cut school to try to steal second base. I could always say I stole second base in the majors. I didn't steal. I got caught. I got caught with my hands in the cookie jar. Anyway, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I wondered if when Hank Aaron was coming around second base, if you were already out to third trying to pull that up, just because you didn't want to run out to second this time. It's a good thing you didn't.
That day, if I was there that day, I was that crazy that I would do something like that. I mean, I collected baseball cards. Like if I wasn't an idiot, like many of us, I would be a millionaire just on the cards that I had. Yeah. And I used to flip cards, like put them against the wall and flip these valuable Jeter rookie cards and everything. If I was smart enough, that and my comic book collection, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be sitting on some island that I owned with all the freaking cards. I mean, I had gems, but who knew, right?
I'm immediately going to YouTube because I want to see you run out to second base. I will be doing that immediately.
Okay, guys. Thanks a lot, buddy.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you.
Next time.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.